welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Charnel, aka Char Reads Things. I want to get into, in this video, I want to get into the books that I read in the month of January 2024. So I'm on the floor. I put up a new bookshelf in my bedroom, and I just think it's so cute. It's full of all the books that I haven't read before, I haven't read yet. At the top I have like some library books. So I think I'm gonna designate this top shelf for my library books, and then the rest is like books I haven't read before, and then behind me the same thing, books I haven't read before that I own. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into the books that I read in January. So I noticed that most of the books that I read were on my Kindle, like through Libby or Kindle Unlimited, or they were just hard copies from the library. So basically all of them except for, oh, and then there was an audiobook too. So I'll put up the like, as I'm talking through them, I'll put up to the, like, I'll try to figure out how to put up the image next to my head, right here, as I'm talking about the books that I don't physically have. So the one that I'll start off with the one that I do physically have is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. It was, excuse me, it was really good, surprisingly. It kind of, I think, because I'm a millennial, I'm 33, I think this is going to be this generation's Gossip Girl series. It's that, you know, rich, like ultra rich group of friends. They're on private jets. They went to all the private schools. Well, this group of friends, they're already in their early 20s-ish. But long story short, I really liked it. It reminded me, like I said, of Gossip Girl. That's the series that was similar to this, the rich group of friends type of thing, with mess going on and things like that. That was like my coming of age rich girl, like, you know, the rich messy stories was the Gossip Girl series, and I think this is what I'm getting from this one. But it's a lot of depth to these characters. It might not seem like it, but there's they have a lot of hard traumas and things like that are going on, but it's still none of them are perfect, basically. So to me, that makes it good to read, because like, that's reality. No matter if you're rich or not, like, nobody's perfect, and people do things for certain reasons. So I highly recommend reading this one. And I can't wait to get into Daisy Hates. That's the next one. I need to put it on. I don't know. I'll see when I'll get to it, because I'm also a mood reader too. So I could say like, oh, I'll read it this month, and then I don't feel like reading it till next month. So okay, so the actual first book that I read, I have my laptop right here so I can remember. The actual first book that I read in January, I started in December, like mid-December. It was The Reformatory, and I'll put the picture somewhere right here, by Tananarive Due. So it's a historical fiction horror story. Let me just go into it real quick. So this is like a short synopsis on Goodreads. So a gripping, page-turning novel set in Jim Crow, Florida, that follows Robert Stevens Jr. as he's sent to a segregated reform school that is a chamber of terrors, where he sees the horrors of racism and injustice for the living and the dead. So it's set in Gracetown. It's a fictional town in Florida. I hope that's not a spoiler. And this, everything that's in this book, it happened in June 1950. It's a historic. This book is, The Reformatory is, next to Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, is the best book I've ever read. hands down. Like the thing is, it was scary because it is a horror book. Oh, y'all, look at my chipped up nail polish. Charnel. Oh well. Look, I'm a mom. I'm busy. Okay, anyways. Yes, so it's a horror book, a horror story, and I think I've told y'all, like, horror scares me. I've DNF'd horrors before, like Jackal or whatever. Yeah, Jackal last year. Because it just scares me. But the crux and the backstory of what goes on in this book hooked me. And mind you, that main character that I said, Robert Stevens Jr., he's 12 years old, 11 or 12. And he's sent to a reform school. This is not a spoiler. He's sent to a reform school because he kicked this is in the 1950s, so the Jim Crow era. He kicked a white boy, like their neighbor. He kicked him to get him off of his sister, his older sister, because the guy was making advances on his sister. Like, so this is like a teenage boy who plays football, so he's probably tall and big. And Robert Stevens Jr., he's like 11 or 12. His nickname is Robbie. And so he's not even hit puberty yet. A little boy, he kicked him, like, get off my sister. And the story goes from there. Like, literally the same day, I think the same day or the next day. Because, remind you, this is Jim Crow era, 1950s in Florida. Like, the next day, I think, the judge sent him to the reform school. And so this is historical fiction, so it's not... I don't want to say it's not real. Like, the characters aren't real, but the author, Tanana Reeve Dew, she based Robbie on her real uncle, who this happened to in the 1950s. And there's other books. No, let me backtrack. There were real reform schools for this time period. Reform schools where they will send indigenous boys and girls and black boys to these schools. Like, there's a real one that I think Colson Whitehead has a book called Nickel Boys. It's based off of a real one that was in Mississippi. Because I think they said in Reformatory, Gracetown is just a fictional town that the author made up, like, just to tell the story. But there was a real, like Colson. I haven't read that one, but the Nickel Boys, I believe, is called. I think the author is Colson Whitehead. His is based on, like, a real, like, the school that in Mississippi. But anyways, I'm like going on tangents, but this, like I said, this book, don't just look at the horror. Like, if you're like me, who gets really, I've been talking 8 minutes about this book. It's like, if you're like me, who's scared of horror stories, movies, books, whatever this thing is, ghost stories, because there's haints, which is basically a ghost or a soul or spirit that's trapped in that area. There's a lot of haints in this book, but I just try to get through it because the story of Robbie and his sister, Gloria, I think his sister's name is, and their parents, and just I recommend this book. I rated it a 6 out of 5. If the rating scale is going to be out of 5, it's going to be 6. If it's out of 10, it's 10 out of 10, 100, 100 out of 100. Everyone needs to read this book. For real. It's The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve Dew. Please. And another thing is, this is how much I love this book. It was a library book that I checked out in December. And I was like, it was one of those books where I'm just like, where you know, you're like, I'm not gonna read this. But it was like coming up to the due date of it in I think January 5th was the due date. And I started reading it because I was like, oh, let me just see what it is. Like, I checked it out. And I, like 10 pages in, I went on my Libro app and renew. I was like, I'm reading this. And I did. So, and I loved it so much that I'm planning on purchasing it so I can have my own copy. Because this is one of those books, like, I want to go back in the future and reread. So, yeah. So the next book that I read or listened to was The Gilded Ones. So this one's by Namina Forna. So this is a series. Number one. Okay, so it's a Deathless series by Namina Forna, The Gilded Ones. Okay, so I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This one is a fantasy. I think it's technically a YA fantasy, but it's really good. So it's about 16-year-old Dika lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she will become a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition, Dika prays for red blood so she can finally feel like she belongs. So the Gilded Ones series is basically these girls, like once you come of age, the ceremony is basically they cut you to see what color you're gonna bleed. If you bleed red, you're fine. You could be part of the society, a part of a village, you know, and you're accepted. And if you bleed gold, you're basically an abomination, you know, you're unpure. That's a word that came up a lot in the book. You're not pure. You are a disgrace, and that means that you descend from like these demons or something like that. It's in the lore of the series. So this is not a spoiler. Dika bleeds gold, and the story goes from there. But I listened to this on audiobook, and I think that's what hooked me in, because I think I'm gonna try that too for like these series of like what do you call it? Like fantasy books, and what's the other genre? I forget the other genre where I think it's fantasy. Excuse me, where sometimes the world building can get boring for me reading it. That's why I liked Fourth Wing, because she just jumped Rebecca Yarros, she just jumped right into the world. There was no world building, and I like that. I don't care. But this one there was some world building. You got some backstory on like her mom and dad and things like that, and why things are the way they are. I listened to it on audiobook, and I think that's what made me like it. So I really recommend this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I already have Merciless Ones behind me. That's the second book. And then the third book I think comes out in March. I should have looked that up before I started recording, but I recommend it. And then another book that I read was The Weight of Blood by the GOAT, Tiffany D. Jackson. So this one I gave it, I didn't give that other one 4 stars. I gave it 5 stars, The Gilded Ones. I was looking at the wrong thing. So yeah, Weight of Blood, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Look, Tiffany D. Jackson, I don't know what she does, but I don't know if it's her writing formula or what, but her books hooked me in. And this is another one it's YA, but it's like horror. And it's sort of a retelling of that 80s movie, I think Carrie. Like, you know, at prom, they get the blood or the red paint. I think it's red paint thrown on them. So it replicates that, but it's a totally different backstory for the main character. Okay, so it's about Maddie is an outcast at her small town Georgia high school. Madison, Washington has always been a teasing target for bullies, and she's dealt with it because she has more pressing problems to manage. Until the morning, a surprise rainstorm reveals her most closely kept secret: Maddie is biracial. So she's been passing for white her entire life at the behest of her fanatical white father, Thomas Washington. So the story goes from there. Yeah, like I said, it's a retelling of Carrie. Just think of that type of book, and this is The Weight of Blood. But I was rooting for Maddie the entire time. I know it's a fictional character, but I hope she's happy wherever she is. And that's how like the story was like hooking me. Okay, so the next book I read was Blood Debts, another YA fantasy series, but this time this is about this one is by Terry J. Benton Walker. And I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. And this one's very diverse. Let me drink some water. God, my stallion. I need to drink water. Okay. So this one is very diverse because it like the genres it falls in is fantasy, YA, there's LGBT representation, queer representation, it's a mystery, and there's magic. They're not witches, but they're like, and it's urban fantasy too. They're not witches, but like but they don't call them magicians. But they just deal with magic. So it's based in New Orleans. Why am I blanking? It's based in New Orleans. So it's like the stereotypes of magic, blood magic, and stuff that goes on down there, and hoodoo, voodoo. But this one is about these twins. They're teenage twins, Clement and Christina Trudeau. Oh, like the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau. Okay. So 30 years ago, a young woman was murdered, a family was lynched, and New Orleans saw the greatest magical massacre in its history. There goes my child. In the days that followed, a throne was stolen from a queen. I don't want to give too much because I don't want to give too much away, but this one is like a generational magic story. So basically, like since slavery, since the enslaved days of in this world, because obviously it's not real, they have some, like on the plantations, the enslaved peoples found a way to tap into magic, and it helped them free themselves from being enslaved, and it became generational magic because they taught, they passed it down through the generations. And now we're in modern times, and the twins, Clement and Christina, they are in a family where their grandmother, so they have been on the throne, basically, their family. So basically, like the leader of that chapter, that area of magician, they're not magicians, they're, like that magic queen or whatever. So something happens where their grandmother is killed and her throne was stolen. It should have been passed down to the twins' mother or one of their aunts, but another family stole it. And we're in modern times now, like present day, where the twins, they're finding stuff out, and there's like mysteries and and magic. It was a fun read. Because it's like, as a Black person, I wish that was real. Like they were able, our ancestors, I'm sure they did something like that, but let me not go into all that. But yeah, I recommend this book too. January, I came in hot. Okay? I came in hot with these reads. I was just on, the library, just had some good books. Kindle Unlimited had good books. Libby. But anyways, okay, so I have how many did I read? I think I read 8 books this month, or 9. And then so I read, the next was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. It's in the Part of Your World series, but that was my first book I read from her. So because I read that you can, I saw like on TikTok or probably something like you can read them out of order. But this one just spoke to me the most, and I got it off of Libby, so I read it on my Kindle, and I rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. So a small synopsis is it's a novel of terrible first impressions, hilarious second chances, and the joy in finding your perfect match. It's about Dr. Brianna Ortiz. So her life is like falling apart. She's going through a divorce. Like her divorce about to be finalized. Her younger brother has kidney failure, and he needs a kidney donor like immediately. And then she was up for a promotion because her best friend, who was a front runner for this chief of a chief of doctors. I forget what it's called, but like you're the top doctor, like you're the manager, like you're the top dog. So her best friend, who was a front runner, like moved away. So everybody was like, okay, it's Dr. Ortiz's time, like she's gonna get it. But the new doctor, the male main character, he comes in and they're like, oh, you guys have to battle for it, basically. So it goes from there. This book was so cute and good, and the guy, like, what's his name? Dr. Jacob Maddox. Jacob, he was a sweet guy. He was just a sweet guy, and I really relate. It's funny because I really related to his character because he has anxiety. He doesn't like to be around like huge crowds, and I mean his was more intense than it sounds like mine is. But I have anxiety, like real anxiety, and I like really had to come to terms with it after I had my son in 2020. Like I don't want to get too personal, but like I had to get talk to a therapist, and I still do. That helps me manage my anxiety because it can get out of control. And his is really intense, and it's like I really relate to him, and I really empathize with him. I'm like, man, I feel you. Like I've been through that. So it was just funny. Like I was relating to the male main character for more, because Dr. Ortiz, she's more like. She has vulnerable moments too, but she's more like, like man up, but it was a cute book though. And the next one I read, okay, this one was a mess. Rebecca Not Becky, by it's a writing duo, Christina Platt and then Catherine Wigington Green. And I gave this one 3 out of 5. Goodreads doesn't let you do point stars. Technically I gave it 2.75. At least on Storygraph I did, and on Goodreads I just gave it the 3, whatever. So this one was it says it's in the vein of Such a Fun Age, but I actually love Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed, and I think that was a 4 out of 5 for me. It's not in the vein of Such a Fun Age. A whip-smart, compulsively readable novel about 2 upper-class stay-at-home mothers, one white, one black, living in a perfect suburb that explores motherhood, friendship, and the true meaning of sisterhood amidst the backdrop of America's all-too-familiar racial reckoning. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this one because I was reading it waiting for something to happen. Like I thought they were gonna build a friendship, but they never really did. I don't want to spoil it, but it just wasn't what I expected. I wanted them to, it's like they were just, yeah. It's just, I didn't like it. Sorry. Until the end, something happens to the black woman's, husband. I'm sure you already know, you can already guess. They live in a white area. You already can guess what happened to him. I mean, he wasn't killed, but prejudice and all that. And even then, I'm like, there is no connection between the 2 women. I wanted a connection between them. I'm sorry to say, it's Rebecca, to Becky, she was trying, like, even she had like really bad like hiccups, like really really bad, but it's like the authors, there was like a disconnect. They should have like, okay, they should have found a way to bring them together to like, yeah. They should have just, I wanted a friendship and it never happened. It was just weird. And then I read Before We Were Innocent on my Kindle. This one is by Ella Berman, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So this one is, so a summer in Greece for 3 best friends ends in the unthinkable when only 2 return home in the new novel from Ella Berman. This new novel but from Ella Berman. So this one was okay. It was like, yeah, like the synopsis said, like, it was sort of like a whodunit, like, type of book. Like, I would say it's a mystery. It wasn't really a thriller. It was like a mystery. And the ending kind of, I was like, what? And there was no resolution at the end. So I don't know if it's a setup to like make it a part 2, maybe. But as far as I know, it's a standalone. So this one was just kind of like what I said about Rebecca Not Becky. It was like no resolution. So it was just like, yeah. And so I think I'm noticing I need resolutions. Like I need to like beginning, middle, and end, wrap it up. If it's a standalone, like don't leave me guessing like what, why, And then the last book I read in January was so cute. It was Game On by Ceresia Glass. This book was so cute. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a romance. Like after reading those like 2 books, I think I was just like, I'm just annoyed by these, I don't know, mysteries or whatever. So I just needed something like fluffy, and this one was so good. It was about 2 gamers. So when an unexpected player to wait, what? Okay, this synopsis is weird. Okay, when an unexpected player 2 enters her life, a gamer must decide if their relationship is worth leveling up in this new romance from the author of The Love Con. Yeah, so they're basically 2 gamers. Let me try to wrap it up. The guy, Aaron Galanis, he's the CEO and owner of a company who makes like some video games. And then Samara Reynolds is the female main character. And she's like a gamer influencer. So she plays under an anonymous screen name, and she does reviews on games. So she did a review on one of his games, like his flagship game, that everybody knows his company for. And basically she called it out for like some racial biases, the black characters weren't being treated and things like that. And she created a hashtag, and his company was basically like getting almost canceled on social media because of her hashtag and her campaign against him. So it goes from there. It was really cute. And so I guess you can say it's like an enemies to lover, because he finds out it's her and then tries to hire her, bring her in the company and stuff like that. But I would say it was a slow burn, because they went from enemies to like working partners to like friends, and then it was really cute. I recommend it if you just want something fluffy. And it's February. It's Black History Month, but it's also Love Month. Valentine's Day is coming. If you're in the mood to like read some fluffy romances, I recommend this one. And yeah, that's the last book I read in February. I finished that one on the 29th of January. I mean, sorry. That's the last book I read in January. I finished that one on January 29th. So yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments, like, what did you read in January? What were your faves? And what are you looking forward to in February? Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.